to Learn Free Music Theory, lesson number 35. Okay, so in this lesson, we are going to be talking about compound intervals. Now, compound intervals are not really that difficult. It's not too big of a problem, so this is going to be a pretty short lesson, but it should be quite helpful too. Okay, so let's get right into it. Okay, so first up, what is a compound interval? A compound interval is any interval that is basically above 8. So anything above a perfect 8 is considered a compound interval. We call them compound intervals mainly because anything outside of 8 is actually more or less pretty uncommon for an interval leap or jumps or even harmonic intervals. By the way, the difference between harmonic intervals and melodic intervals is actually harmonic intervals go up and down and melodic intervals go left and right. So a melodic interval is going to be here to here, whereas a harmonic is going to be here to here, like if you're writing them out. And you can remember that, you can remember that by, if you're playing piano, and you play a harmonic chord, like you're playing like C major or whatever, you're playing multiple notes at the same time, and we'd call that harmony, right? So harmony, harmonic intervals, notes at the same time. Melodic is notes moving, so ha 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 ha. They're not going down at the same time, so they're moving, so we call that melodic interval. So anyway, that's a quick side thing. I don't know if I've ever covered that before, so. Okay, so compound intervals, they can be above 8, anything above 8. So starting at 9, that's your first and smallest compound interval. After that, you can get like 15ths, 14ths. So probably the most you're ever going to see, at least commonly, sometimes you can see ninths, I've seen ninths before quite, relatively often, and I've seen tenths as well. But I haven't really seen many 12ths or 11ths or anything like that. I think I've seen 1/12th, and then that's about it. You don't really see them very often. I guess sometimes big, huge rolled chords, but other than that, not really. So you don't really have to worry about it going too far. It's not going to go into like the 20 seconds or anything like that. So basically the idea behind learning compound intervals is so that what we're trying to do is, we're not used to working with compound intervals, so what we do is we actually size them down and relate them to basic intervals. So I'm going to show you how to do that in the next part right now. Okay, so here we are. Now I'm just going to use a ninth for an example, and this is really how easy it is. Okay, so if you have major ninth right here, now say you see this huge interval and you're not really sure what it is. Okay, and instead of going to the trouble of trying to figure out what it is off the bat, what you can do is just move this down or this up. So in this example, I just moved the E all the way up 1 octave. In this example over here, I just moved the F sharp down 1 octave. So you can move the top or the bottom note up or down, basically closer to the other note by 1 octave. Once you do this, you've converted the compound interval into a basic interval, okay? Now, you can then find out what the basic interval is. So if this is a second, okay? Now, so you find out, okay, this is a major second. Okay, cool. Now what do? Now, how do you apply it? Just add 7, okay? So if this is a major second, now add 7 to this number. Now it's a major ninth, so 2 plus 7 is 9. Major ninth, done, finished. Okay? If it's minor, if it's a minor ninth or minor tenth, then it's going to be minor here. Okay? So it's going to transfer over, you just add 7. So a minor tenth is a minor third, but you just move it. That's basically it. That is how you deal with compound intervals. Now we need to get into the last part of it, which is inverting compound intervals. So we're going to do that next. Okay, so for the last part of compound intervals, which I know this is a really short lesson, isn't it? but I didn't really want to include it with the other one because I wanted you guys to go through just those intervals and inverting it and then get into this one too. Okay, so, all right. Now, I've drawn out an example of a tenth this time. So, say someone gives you this thing right here and they say, okay, I want you to invert this compound interval. What are you going to do? Okay, first thing you want to do is figure out what type of interval it is. So the first thing you want to do is convert it down to a basic interval. So if you're fast enough in your head and it's simple, like it could be a more complicated one. By the way, I forgot to say in the last one that all perfects, when you, like if you have a compound interval, if it's a perfect interval when it's small, it's going to be a perfect interval when it's big, or if it's diminished or augmented or minor or major, they stay the same all the time because you're just moving an octave up and down. You're not doing anything else. You're not flipping it up, round, or whatever. So if it's a perfect interval, like if it's a perfect fourth, then it'll expand up to, you know, perfect 11th or whatever. So just keep that in mind that they stay the same. So first thing you want to do is convert this down to a basic interval so you know what it is first, and then you can upsize it to what it's supposed to be. So unless you just want to count it and you're really fast. Okay, so you take your E, bring it down, or you can bring your C up, whatever you want to do. So say you bring your E down, okay, so from C to E, we know that's a major third. Okay, so major third. Now what's 7 plus 3? That's 10. So now we know this is a major tenth. Cool. Good stuff. Okay, so now we know what this is, so that's going to make it easier to diagnose what this new interval is going to be. Okay, because it could also be that they want you to name the compound interval and then invert it after. So that's the step one. Okay, so usually you're going to write out the compound interval, and in your head you're going to do that unless they ask you to do that anyway. Okay, so now after you've done that, you can invert this interval two ways. Okay. Well, technically three, but whatever. Like the third way is kind of the same as the second way, but you'll see in a minute. So the first thing you can do is you can take, to invert a compound interval, you can take the top note and move it down an octave, and take the bottom note and move it up an octave. So as you can see, you go doot, doot. So you kind of just take the two notes and you switch them. So both of them go, this one goes down an octave, this one goes up an octave. Now it's inverted. Or you can take one note, say you take your top note, you can move it down 1, 2 octaves, or you can take the bottom note and move it up 1, 2 octaves. So in this example here, look, I've moved this C up 1 octave here, and then another octave. So now this is the same E here, but this C is moved up 2 octaves. I could do the same thing as well. I could leave this C here, and then move this E down 1 and then 2 octaves over here. And that could work as well. But as you can see, either doing one of those, like moving the E down 2 octaves, would put me way down in the ledger lines, and that'd be quite annoying to deal with. So in this case, the easiest way to do it is just to move this E down 1 octave and this C up 1 octave. So once I've done that, they're where they need to be. So if there's like a flat on this E flat, like if there's a flat by the E or a sharp, you would keep it where it was and just transfer them, of course. And then all you do is you apply your chart. So if you know this is a third, now your compound interval, because basically if you invert a compound interval into a basic interval, right, you're going to basically have a basic interval. So what you want to do is use a conversion like this. So if you converted it down to a major third, it's going to convert into a minor sixth. Okay? So because remember, thirds and sixths, thirds always go into sixths, and minors always become major and majors become minor. Okay? So really, you just take major third going to minor sixth, boom, you have a minor sixth. Done. You just use the way, if you're good at doing the basic intervals and inverting those, then it's really easy, because all you have to do is figure out what your compound interval is, move each one up and down an octave, so you flip them, and then apply your basic interval, and then you're done. Simple as pie. So, and remember that it's going to stay augmented or diminished on the compound side, but when it comes over, then it's going to flip, right? Because augmented becomes diminished and diminished becomes augmented. So say you have a diminished third here, then this is going to be an augmented sixth, okay? So it's going to flip, just like we learned in the last lesson. So play around with these, and let's do some homework now. Homework. No. Woo! Okay, so homework time. Now, for your homework, what I would like you guys to do is draw 20 compound intervals. So you can, experiment with minors, majors, augmented, diminished, whatever. Draw 20 of them, and then after leave space for, because after what I want you to do is convert all your compound intervals to major, simple basic intervals, and then so basically I want you to do 3 things for each of these 20 things. I want you first to draw the compound interval, then on the side of that, then I want you to draw the basic interval, and then on the side of that, then I want you to take the compound interval and invert it into an inverted interval from that. And so you're going to use that basic interval that you did to kind of help you already do that. So yeah, so basically it's kind of wrapping up all those 3 elements in the one per each exercise that you do, so you don't have to write out a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so that's what I'd like you to do. I think that pretty much covers it. It's a pretty simple topic. Basically, if you find it hard, it's just something that you need to work through and practice. And it's very systematic, and eventually you develop like a rhythm and you're like, oh yeah, I get this, oh yeah. And it just becomes really fun. At least I found it really fun. I always loved intervals and doing them. It just seems so easy and natural for me. So I don't know, maybe other people find it more difficult or not, but I always found them really fun and kind of, they're my favorite part of exams always. I'm like, yay, intervals, woohoo! And then I'm like, no, scale writing. I never liked doing the scale writing. It was always the part that I hated the most. I also really liked matching the terms, because usually I spent a lot of time learning my terms, and I was always like, ooh, are they going to be able to stump me? But normally they didn't stump me that well, so that was always good. So I like doing the interval part too. But definitely my favorite part was, anyway, whatever. Yeah, the interval part and the terms part were my favorites. But anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope everything was good. I know this was a short lesson, but I figure you guys, with the last few lessons, there's a lot of information and you guys might want a little bit of a break. So a bit easier of a lesson would be nice. So hope everything's good. Hope you're doing well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later. Bye.